Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And right off the bat, Steelers season up in the air now. Aaron Rodgers has a fracture in his hand. They're trying to downplay it like it's no big deal. Like it's only a little one. That's like saying someone's just a little pregnant. It's all downhill from there, dude. Like there's no way he plays with the fracture. And I know it's not in his throwing hand, but they're like, he's day to day. It takes 2 to 4 weeks for it to heal, right? Just from past experience of like knowing sport injuries. I mean, it is his last year, so maybe he does play with it and say, I don't care. They're going to get me the best doctors. They can probably numb it, right? I guess it depends where it is, if it's small enough. But if it's in his hand, some of those linger. Like we see guys have it and then like it just goes and goes and goes. It's in his wrist. So like a little one, like if it's in a part that turns a little bit, it's just going to fracture the whole way through. It's not like he can wear a sling to keep his arm in place, right? Because that's what they talked about. We're just going to brace it and secure it for his comfort. That tells me if they're bracing it, they don't want him to like twist his arm. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He's not practicing. Friday is going to be the key. So we'll find out. But that's the risk. That's the risk of bringing in a veteran quarterback, one that is old, right? Because if he gets injured... Remember, wasn't he injured the first Jets season too? I mean, the Jets have their own issues, but...
He didn't even last a couple plays into the first game.
It was his Achilles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And see, right now, the Steelers are first in the division. They're only up a game. Baltimore's been winning. They're 5-5 now. And the rest of the division kind of fell apart. And so you're looking at... Best case scenario, that's easily the worst division in the AFC. And so no matter what you think of like some of the other teams like the Broncos and the Patriots, which I'm still not sold on as being good teams, but it's hard for a team to stay competitive for a long period of time, right? Even the Patriots with Tom Brady were kind of up and down there in the middle to where they were talking about, hey, we need to get rid of him. We need to do whatever, X, Y, Z. And they had to do a bunch of changeover, and he was able to put it back together. But, like, the Chiefs haven't looked good either. So we could have a really weird playoff this year. And honestly, if Aaron Rodgers could get healthy, if you're telling me that the three teams ahead of the Steelers are the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Colts, all with younger quarterbacks, I would kind of have a good feeling about the Steelers making a run. Do you agree?
I think it's plausible.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor, he's a beast, right? But other than that, is if the Steelers defense can kind of get their crap together and just keep other teams off the field, they could make a run if Aaron Rodgers is serviceable. And it stinks that they weren't able to bring in another receiver. It does seem like Roman Wilson's getting in to the groove, and he is fast to where he can stretch the defense. But it's really kind of Metcalf or bust still, I think. So the Pickens thing kind of stinks for this year. I think if they were able to hold on to Pickens, and then you could put Roman Wilson, if he makes it in the slot position, that could work out. But like Austin, he hasn't been able to do anything as the other option, right? Fumbling, tipping balls up, doing whatever. And you can tell Aaron Rodgers is pissed. He gets pissed at Roman Wilson for doing weird stuff too, but he redeems himself by getting a couple touchdowns, which is where I feel like he could grow a little bit if they just had another option. And I'm kind Kind of weird that like Freiermuth kind of fell off there. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Because like he seemed like he could be a Kelsey type receiver for them, maybe. Like not like, I mean, Kelsey broke that record where he's like their biggest scorer or whatever. And Freiermuth is like, he's getting receptions, but he's like the check down guy and he's not able to get anything. He's averaging 27 yards a game. Like he only has 279 yards this year. And Metcalf's not even much better. But you would think at this point that he would be giving just a little bit more help to Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. I don't know. Like looking at Austin and Roman Wilson, Austin has more yards and more receptions, but they both have 2 touchdowns. And to me, I think it's just the drops. Right? I know Roman Wilson had that one fumble where he tried to jump that guy. I don't know if that was last week or the week before. Maybe it was a while back. I'm just blanking. But there's no options. Like if I read you the rest of the receivers, most people in the league, unless you're a fantasy guy, are like, who the heck is he talking about? Even Jonnu Smith is way down there. He's worse than Roman Wilson stat-wise. He's done nothing. And so he was really hoping that Calvin Austin could just pay off, and it hasn't happened. And so they didn't bring in anyone else to help. And if Aaron Rodgers goes out, this offense is done, dude. There's no hope. Like I don't think Mason Rudolph can lead these vagabonds to any meaningful wins. Like nothing against him. But he's probably kicking himself. He does have a higher rating right now than Aaron Rodgers. He only played in 3 games, though. Scrub time. Because he doesn't have any interceptions. He only has 1 touchdown. That's what's boosting him. But we'll see. If you're the owner, what would you do? Would you rest him? Or would you try to have him play through it?
I think you're at a time where you need to be playing to win.
Nah. You have the Bears, the Bills, and the Ravens. They're all top teams. I would rest them those 3 games. Then you have the Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Ravens. You could probably win the Dolphins and the Browns, get the split with the Ravens if he's healthy. Lions have been so weird that I think you could beat them. I'm not even sold on Bills. I would definitely give Rudolph the Bears. I don't know how the Bears are winning. Like, the JJ looked like crap again because he seems like he's forcing too many balls. He gets them down, they score a touchdown, like he does another 4th quarter comeback, right? They get the lead. And then they give up a kick return to field goal range almost to lose the game. How do you let that happen if you're the Vikings? I keep hearing people talk about, wow, it was JJ's fault. He stunk. Like, no. He led them back on a 4th quarter comeback again, and he's learning. Some quarterbacks are just bad all around, and that they never have that like kind of comeback. You can't waste them. That's the difference for them being in. Now they're 2 games back, all because... And they had the lead. It wasn't like they scored to tie it. And then the Chicago went down and scored. Maybe they did score a little bit too fast. But it's weird. I don't think JJ throws the hardest ball. And the Vikings receivers are just making drops. And it's like, what's wrong with them? How do you have like a supposed bunch of weapons and they just can't catch the ball? So, on the other hand, the Bears... I don't know how they're winning because it's because their schedule stinks. Let's be real. All the top teams they played, they lost. Vikings, Lions, and Ravens are their 3 losses. They beat the Cowboys, Raiders, horrible. Commanders, quarterback's out. I don't know if they was out for that game. The Saints, the Bengals, and then the Giants. And then, of course, that Vikings game, which they should have lost. They should have lost to the Vikings. I don't know how you let the guy return the ball all the way past the 50 or whatever he did on the kickoff after you just got the lead. You should have been pumped up. So Steelers can win this game with Mason Rudolph. Caleb Williams, man, he's fighting with the Dunze, which makes me not know what to do for fantasy. I should have benched him last week. I probably would have won. But I couldn't pull the trigger because Devontae Adams was injured and they kept having him as questionable. And I thought, oh, man, I'm going to have a backup for him. And so I saved it for him. I should have just swapped the Dunze out and then risked Devontae Adams, I guess. But he does have some high upside. If Caleb Williams can pass the ball around, I don't know what's wrong with that guy. His QBR is so low, 55. His completion's 50%, dude. And they're winning, though. How every time the Bears make the playoffs in a run, it always seems like they're winning in spite of their quarterback. Who was their guy that Peyton Manning beat up on? Was that Cutler? Or did they have Greasy? I don't even know who their quarterback was.
Oh, Brian Gracie.
Yeah.
It was either Brian Gracie or Rex. Well, was Rex Grossman there too?
Was it Grossman? I'm trying to. Yeah, Grossman was there.
It was a combination of both of them because it was you really didn't beat anyone that difficult. So why are you really trying to flex?
I'm trying to look. It was Grossman. They probably would have won with Greasy. He won the national championship. That would have been it, right? Peyton Manning, that would have been a great storyline. Did he threw for 120 or 65 yards in that Super Bowl with 2 interceptions? Rex Grossman did. And Hester returned that kick. He was trying to win it himself in the first quarter, and it looked like Peyton Manning was about to choke again, and then they got Rexed. It's hard to remember the Bears quarterbacks and who chokes the most. But the NFC, I think, is wide open. Right? I'm not impressed with any NFC team other than the Eagles. And I thought the Rams were good, but they did the same thing where they should have lost to the Seahawks. They came out hot, and they just fizzled. And I think it was the same scenario. I can't remember now because I'm getting confused with my end of games. But the Seahawks, I think, came back and almost won that game. And I don't think they pulled it off. I think they ended up losing by 2 points, the exact same score almost. Maybe it is the same score. I don't know what the Vikings one was. But it was very similar, right? The scriptwriters ran out of ideas or they copied the wrong thing and sent it to both teams. And that's how you get the same exact thing coming up. But yeah, we haven't really been talking about a lot of NFL stuff because of the change in college that's been happening. But for right now, I'm still stuck on the NFC. I think it's the Eagles and then a bunch of random teams that have been around other than the Bears. Like the Niners, Packers, Seahawks, Bucks, Rams, Eagles. They've all been competing for Super Bowls for the past couple years. Lions are a little bit of a disappointment, but some teams that stood out to me. Carolina Panthers are in it. How? I don't know. They have no offense. They're kind of like the Bears, where if they get in the playoffs, they're going to lose. There's no way they don't lose in the playoffs. But some teams I thought were going to take a jump, like the Falcons, are awful. How? Penix got hurt. He's done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they got to get him help. I don't understand it. I don't understand how the Panthers are better than the Falcons right now. So we're
with Penix being injured, I think that almost is helping me because then with the changing quarterback there, bringing what the heck's his name?
Kirk Cousins, legendary Michigan State guy, another Big Ten guy, bro.
With Cousins there, that's going to be a helper for me because then he'll throw the ball to Kyle Pitts.
You think? He looked pretty lost when I watched a little bit of that game. I think, honestly, I feel like the play this year hasn't been as good. And I haven't been watching as many off games like I would have last year. I do like that we're getting new teams mixed in, right? It is concerning that, like, once again, it's the Patriots that have a great record, right? Okay. Like, could it be someone new? Some teams that looked like they were going to take that jump. Texans a couple years ago. Bengals. Like, they're getting guys injured. Like, they're just not putting it together. And then you have the Broncos. Like, they paid for Sean Payton. They've been waiting. And they've been winning with a quarterback that isn't really making big-time plays, but he doesn't really make too many mistakes from what I've seen. I haven't watched all the Broncos games. But I think a lot of these teams are just fool's gold to me. Like, I watch the Colts. If Taylor isn't running and someone can shut that down and make them one-dimensional, like, they're done. But maybe it doesn't matter. Can you win? I mean, I watched Lamar play like crap. All he had to do was be decent. Be average. And, like, that's my fantasy team. Like, he does a stinker every couple weeks. I feel like that's what's going to get me eliminated. I still have a lead in my division, but at this point, I'm not confident going in like I was a week ago. Too many injuries, I think. I don't have any fantasy guys to tip off this week either. Some of my guys that have been coming in, like, if you have an injury, like I had Kincaid go out, I had all my tight ends go down to the point where I'm playing maybe Kate Otten this week. Great. Baker, didn't he have a kid or something? Which is other weird news. Oh, yeah, they're expecting baby number 2. Awesome. How about you focus on the game, bro? Like, you're doing he looks like he's drunk. Doing a baby thing. Embarrassing. Any NFL stuff you want to talk about?
Well, I thought it was interesting because with fantasy this week, I had the combination of early in the week questioning, like, Marvin Harrison came back from his concussion. I was like, oh, that'll be some solid points for me. And they're like, nope, his appendix is giving him issues. He'll be out for we don't know how long. Definitely this week, if not into the future. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's all right. I'll take him out. I have Keon Coleman. We'll put him in. And then they were like, and he's just going to be a healthy scratch this week. So, like, literally 10 minutes before the free agent period was going to end for the week, I was like, all right, well, I have a 50-50 coin flip of what receiver for the Cardinals I need for my team. And if I didn't pick him up, I definitely would have lost this week. So, like, it completely swung the pendulum for me. It had the most points scored in our league.
I know. I saw, dude, you had you jumped up. You were the lowest scoring team, and you had a winning record, and now you're not lowest scoring anymore. You're like 9th or something. You moved up a bunch of spots because everyone at the bottom is really, really close. But see, well, that's where my advantage is. Right now, I'm first in the division. And the 2 teams that are a game behind me are so far behind in points that, like, if Lamar throws some stinkers my way, it shouldn't really matter. Like, I should be able to win at least 1 or 2 of these last games. It kind of depends on what they do. I think they play each other. So I'm kind of hoping I had a chance to really upset one of them and then kind of help my odds on the division. But all I have to do, I think, is win 2 more games, and it's impossible for them to catch up. Because if I lose one, then they tie, and unless they score like 100 points more than me, like, I should have the tiebreaker. So that's what I'm hoping for. 2 wins, close out the year, relaxing. Then if Lamar has a stinker in the playoffs, I can, like, kind of not be as upset, right? I almost benched him, but my other guy, Stroud, is out with concussion. And he's still out. And that's why I picked up Auten, right? I have 4 tight ends. Who has 4 tight ends on their team? Like nobody. That's horrible decision making. But I have Kraft is out. I think he's done for the year. So he's on the IR. Kincaid, he didn't play. I picked up Gatson. He was questionable. And he almost didn't play because his knee, he played a little bit. I probably should have played Auten, but he only got 4 points. So now this week, Gatson's on a bye. If Kincaid doesn't come back, I'm kind of screwed. I'm going to have to play Auten or someone else. I try to look and see who else to pick up. But there's not a lot out here right now. I could have picked up Loveland. He had 7. He kind of depends on what Caleb Williams does. I really don't want 2 Caleb Williams receivers on my team. Right, I already got a Dunze. Too dangerous. And I told you to pick up Tyrone Tracy, remember, a couple weeks ago, because their running back situation. He had his first decent game last week, and I had him on my bench. So.
Well, and I am looking forward to Mario Hampton coming back. He should be within the next 2 weeks back, which would be a helper.
And they're what? They're close. They have a winning record. Are they winning their division? No, they're behind the Broncos, right?
Yeah, they're behind the Broncos, but it's wild where they're at right now.
And that's another thing. Like, we could have a bunch of like weird teams in the playoffs. I think it'd be fun. Because right now, the Chiefs are out, dude. Chiefs are out. Houston's in. No, wait, Houston's out too. It'd be Jacksonville.
Did you see Andy Reid was kind of throwing Mahomes under the bus?
No, was it for a haircut or something?
No.
What did he say?
He just essentially said, "We are calling run plays, but the way the league is now, there's more people just checking to the pass." So it's kind of like we are trying to run the ball more, but we also give the quarterback liberty to check it into some of these passes. So like that's why we're throwing the ball as much as we are.
Well, I can't get past the fact that their line lines up offsides every time. I don't know how the other teams don't petition. And if I was a coach, I would say something. Because obviously their line is bad, right? They called it at least one time last game that I saw where they were driving. The guard was so far behind, they threw the flag. They explained it on the broadcast. And the very next play, he lined up in the same position. If I was the official, I would have threw the flag again. Like, dude, you're the guard. You can see, if you can see his foot in front of you, you're behind the line, right? Too many men in the backfield, flag it. Because the tackle lines off him. So you have the center up, and then behind him, the guard is lined up like behind him off to the side. Almost like if you're looking at a chessboard, dude, he's like the next piece over, right? Like a diagonal. He's like not even up anywhere close to where you could be considered parallel to the line of scrimmage. And that's a flag. And it's because they know that they need to be in pass protection and they don't want a speed rush coming. And so he wants to get that head start. That's the only thing. It's kind of like the Eagles now. I think more people are coming to call out on both the Eagles line for leaving early on the tush push, which is why they've started to kind of fail on it a few times. Where people wouldn't even be trying to outlaw it if all they did was call the false start every time. Right? Because if you call the false start, the Eagles' advantage is snuffed out. And then over time, it's not going to be as successful. They're going to stop doing it. Just like the Chiefs. Hey, he's lined off offside. If I was the coach, I'd be out there the entire time they asked me about the game. Kind of weird they let him line up in an illegal formation every time. Right? Because you can't lie. It's not like a judgment call. It's not like a holding. Where it's like, well, he couldn't see it or whatever. They have a guy right down the line. He can see that the guy's not on the line. Like, there's no reason why they just can't call it unless they know that, well, we can't call it 20 times in a row. Yeah, you can. Embarrass them. They're professionals, dude. That guy should be fired. that's my rant against the Chiefs. Like, it's hard to watch them. And then Mahomes is out there. He's complaining about calls and interference. Like, they called one. It was like a holding down the field. Not even close. Like, maybe barely a holding. But he threw the ball on the other side of the field right to the defender. And it was one of the worst throws I've ever seen by him. And even the commentator was like, whoa, I don't know what he's looking at. And they're like, well, he was a flag. Maybe he saw the flag. Like, no, dude, he did not see the flag. That was him begging the refs to bail him out after the throw. And I wish they would have picked it up and said, no, uncatchable. Right? Or like, I think they called holding so that they didn't get it out. Like, you can't like dispute that. But that's the one thing that I want to see. And I think it would help both college and NFL is if they got rid of the underthrow flags on the defense, right? Because that's really what the uncatchable is. If you throw the ball 15 yards short and a guy's running like a streak, like, oh, you're going to throw the behind the shoulder fade. Like, it's not supposed to be 10 yards short where the guy just throwing a flag. Those should be deemed uncatchable every single time. Like, they have the line markers on the field. You can see that it's 5 yards short. He's not miraculously stopping and jumping 5 feet or 5 yards, whatever it is, and catching the ball. And I think that would help get rid of a lot of the Mahomes BS. And then they wouldn't win. So I don't know if that's a win for the NFL or not. Like, I don't know if people are really tuning in to see him and Kelsey. Probably. Based on all the jerseys I see now, I used to never see any Chiefs jerseys. And that's the one thing that stood out to me. People were like, well, they need the Chiefs to win. Why? They're in the middle of nowhere. Right? They need a New York team to win. Or LA. Or Chicago. They don't need Kansas City. Right? If we're being real. If they're trying to rig it for like the biggest cities, or get a national team, dude, get either the Cowboys, the Steelers, or the Packers. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much every major national followed team except for maybe the 49ers or the Patriots you could throw in there. Boston and San Fran. I don't think any other team would be considered, and Kansas City's below all of those I mentioned. Giants, and I'm even throwing the Jets in there just because of New York. And then you have, I guess the Chargers, right? Who's the LA team? The Rams? Like any LA team they would want. And then Chicago, of course, the Bears. That's who they want to win. Dallas, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. They don't want the Chiefs to win. I don't even think they want the Eagles to win.
I think they made their money off of that run. So
yeah, they don't want the Eagles to win. It cracks me up because Jalen Hurts looks like a villain from the 80s movies, dude. Like, he could be a Rocky opponent. He has like a gold chain and one earring in. It's like he grew up and saw like a old Barry Bonds card and was like, I'm going to look like that. I want that. And then he just keeps wearing it. It cracks me up. Because I like Hurts. I can't even, like, I think if Devonta Smith would have had a couple of catches last game, I probably would have won fantasy, but they were playing on like a whirlwind where no one was hitting the receivers. That game was horrible to watch, by the way. And then they got bailed out against the Lions because they don't want the Lions to win, right? A phantom pass interference puts the game away. And then that kind of stuff makes me just think like, why am I watching this game? It makes no difference. Like, I'm not going to will my fantasy guy to make a catch while I'm watching. He's going to catch it whether I'm watching or not, Matt. If you're putting out a poor product with poor officiating and things that just drive me nuts, like dudes not lining up correctly, and I can see it on TV, and to me that just screams like you're fixing the game. I saw that something. This is probably hit close to home for Pittsburgh fans. I saw something where they were complaining about the touches for Gainwell. Right? Suspicious, because if you put a bunch of prop bets on your other running back getting a bunch of carries and then he doesn't play for some reason, what are you doing? I noticed the Rams doing it too. Williams goes down the field, right? They get in, They miss a pass. So there's no reason why he couldn't have been arrested. They bring in Blake Corum, nothing against my man, to try to run for the touchdown. And he gets closer, but he doesn't get like into the end zone. And then Williams comes back in and scores. And I thought, like, why did they put Blake in? Like, why'd they put him in there? Was it because they don't want Williams to hit a touchdown? Right? And that's a thing. People were trying to track it now to where they're trying to track and see if there's some type of point shaving. And we talk about it for all the sports. I think it's really going to ruin sports where why couldn't you just let gambling be a backdoor shady thing? Right? Where it feels bad to do. They had it all, but they had to get the money and they had to put advertisements everywhere. So now you have it be the forefront. I'm tired of joking about it. Like, you can't go anywhere without seeing betting. Like, oh, here's the bets. Like, I bring up ESPN right now. Your things are Pigskin Pick'em, win 100K, ESPN bet, fantasy football. Oh, join the Eliminator Challenge. Oh, here's a Pigskin win totals challenge. There's 5 betting things in the menu. Dude, 5. Why? And I mean, I guess people could say like, well, fantasy's not really betting. And these other ones are kind of just like challenges or whatever. Yeah, they want people in. Like if you go in, they have like their ESPN bet thing, which is insane. And luckily, I think I can block a lot of that. But I'm looking at just across the league where I don't understand how, like I said before, that the media company can make money off gambling. And then, like you said, they could report whatever. They don't know if a guy's injured. He's like day to day, and then they hold him out. They probably know. That's the entire Chauncey Billups thing. How is it illegal? Like, if he knows because he's there, and yeah, he's just like hanging out, he's retired. How's it illegal for him to bet? It's just like politicians doing stocks, dude. If it's not illegal for politicians to do stock market, it shouldn't be illegal for old players to make bank hanging out with their friends and saying like, oh yeah, I'm not playing today. Oh shit, dog, let me get my bet in. Right? Thanks for the heads up, dude.
Yeah.
So ESPN bet is supposed to be going down, right? I guess it's ending next month, October. So I won't be able to talk about it anymore. It was they said that it was like a licensing thing, and where they got Ments to do like common stock to do the media for it. But basically they were saying like it's a one-sided deal for ESPN. Hey, like they're a terrible sports book. Like, let's see if we can get ESPN to save it. Like they try to spin it. And it's the exact same thing that the Big Ten is doing right now, where they came out with that stupid private equity deal. And I saw someone say it's because there's like a scam for nonprofits that the current administration might have put a stop to, where you could be a company that takes a horrible like loan deal or whatever, and then you donate the money back to the college so that you don't have to pay taxes or whatever, and then you make it up that way. But the university then, when they stop the nonprofit athletic donation thing, now the universities are paying like these high interest loans that it was kind of just like a backdoor deal. Well, okay. Great. Like, okay, it has nothing to do with the normal person, right? And then you can't complain about not having money whenever you're making horrible contracts. And like coaches, like you're firing a guy. I saw Penn State, they're celebrating James Franklin getting hired. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Okay, awesome. That's a horrible move for Penn State. I was talking to one of the media guys I know down here in the South, and he was saying there's a lot of pushback from the South. You've probably seen it, where people are still mad that CBS didn't put together a package for the SEC, right? They kind of let it go. But people I talked to said they didn't care. And yeah, ESPN, or not ESPN, the SEC can go ahead and they can get you a little bit better ratings. But in the end, it's not really that much of a difference. As long as CBS and their deal, they wanted to be able to have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State every week. And that's why you saw Penn State and Michigan State get picked where the record was 3 and whatever. When they could have showed Iowa and USC, 2 teams winning, but they don't care. Right? That was a playoff eliminator game pretty much, I think, for Iowa and USC. Iowa ended up losing it. USC is still alive now with 2 losses. As Texas was getting eliminated, right, with their 3 losses, Herb Street was trying to shove them in. Oh, Texas can still make it. They have these great losses, Matt. Great losses. 3 great losses, dude.
Yeah. Tom Sam.
You got to put him in. I'm like, you got to put him in? Herb Street? 3 great losses? That makes no sense. They stink. Their quarterback stinks. You might as well just say, hey, we really want Manning in. It'd be great for a business, right? And so I don't know what they can do. But going back to the private equity deal, because this is like one of the top stories now, because Michigan is in the headlines. I don't know if you saw this. Last week we talked about how USC and Michigan both said they were getting pressured by the Big Ten to do the deal. The reason I brought up CBS saying that they really only wanted Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, that's because Michigan is one of those big 3. They need to be part of the deal. So the Big Ten is kind of pushing them, saying like, yo, we'll kick you out, right? And the Michigan board has been firing back. I don't even want to get excited about it because I know they're going to back down. They backed down about the Harbaugh thing, right? I was all in. You get the alums on board. We come in, we fill out like our lawsuit thing. And then they're like, never mind. We're not going to do it. So I feel like the same thing's going to happen here. But maybe they can get out of the money. The difference is I don't think Michigan's in as bad of a place as what Penn State and Ohio State are in. Because both are doing major stadium renovations that they can't afford. Right? Ohio State probably a little bit better. Penn State, they couldn't do the James Franklin buyout or whatever and pay for a new stadium renovation. They want the money up front so they can do new loans or whatever and kind of get out from underneath this stuff. I've heard, I don't know how true this is because I didn't look at it myself, but I've heard that Michigan's close to having a balanced budget starting maybe next year with these new TV money. And so Michigan doesn't need the private equity because after 7 years or whatever, which is, 2015? So after 7 years, like 2032, it's probably going to start to turn into a losing deal for the Big Ten, and it runs all the way to 36. So you're basically going in knowing that at best scenario, 7 years, you're going to be okay, and then you're going to start being on the losing end of this loan for the last 4 years. And who knows, it could hit earlier than that, right? With interest, and who knows what's happening with the economy and tariffs and everything. So there's no way for long term this to pay off for the Big Ten. They could do it for a shorter time, but all the way out to 2036 is just crazy. And it's weird that it kind of lines up with the ACC deal, doesn't it? Isn't that when their TV deal's up?
Yeah, that was actually, as you were saying it, I was thinking, wow, that's kind of ironic.
And so, honestly, right now, if Michigan were to get kicked out of the league, go independent, work out a deal with Notre Dame, if the ACC breaks up at the same time, they could really just pick a conference of like 8. What is it, the minimum? 8? You go ahead and bring in like 3 big schools, USC, Michigan, Notre Dame, and then backfill with just some academic schools like Duke and whatever, and teams that you hope you can beat up on, and say like, hey, we're a 3-bid league, well, what's the playoffs going to say? No? They're begging to put Notre Dame in right now with 2 losses. They could do the same thing. Like you have an 8-game thing. You play your 7-game like conference schedule, and then you fill it with like 5 cupcakes, 5 like national recruiting things like Navy and whatever else Notre Dame throws in there. Right? Because even when Notre Dame loses to like a team like Marshall, they're still in the mix. They don't care. And so I'm curious to see how far the Big Ten pushes back. Because for me, this is the final straw. As a fan and an alum, like I would fill up a letter right now and vote. Like if they asked me, hey, vote, I would vote to leave the Big Ten. The Harbaugh thing, first off, was the first straw. They said like, oh, hey, now they're trying to do like a hindsight 2020 like fix, saying like, well, we suspended Harbaugh. That pretty much made them not be able to get rid of your championship whenever the stuff came out, right? But that's just a twist. Because if Harbaugh wasn't suspended and there's no information to vacate any wins anyway because he didn't do anything wrong, he didn't have to be suspended at all, right? Saying like, hey, we did you a solid by making sure that people knew that he wasn't involved by suspending him and you guys were still winning. What if we lost? Right? It just so happened the team was so good, it didn't matter that the head coach wasn't there for like 6 games. The coach themselves, right? Lucky very easily could have fell apart. Penn State fell apart this year. They were close to not even having one Big Ten win. That could have been Michigan with Harbaugh suspended. So the Big Ten were coming back and being like, oh yeah, it really worked out. We really had your back there. You didn't get your win vacated because of all that BS, right? And most likely it started at Ohio State anyway, ratting us out. So do we need them? No. Because like I still don't see any way that the data wasn't turned in. Like that photo of Don Brown giving signals on the Jumbotron was 100% during the Ohio State game. Who else would have turned that in other than Ohio State? Right? No one's ever answered that. That Ohio State like thing that they had. Ohio State had all the signs. Like that is them 100%. So at this point, I don't know what the rest of the Big Ten teams are feeling, but they hitched their wagon to Ohio State, and we've talked about it. Choking in the biggest games, dude. In our lifetimes, Ohio State has won 3 championships, national championships. Michigan has won 2. Ohio State's been better recruiting-wise than the rest of the Big Ten for what, 20 years now? They've won 1 more championship than Michigan. They're an embarrassment, dude. Could you imagine if Alabama had all those recruiting classes that were way ahead of the SEC and they only won 1 more championship than like Auburn? Get out of here. So if the Big Ten wants to hitch their ride to Ohio State, and who knows what the hell Penn State's doing, right? They need the money. They're in the middle of nowhere. NIL is not going to be kind to them. They have wealthy donors. They can bring in whatever they want. I don't know why they want the deal. Like, it makes no sense. The rest of the other conference, you didn't stick up for us during Signgate. I don't care about you at all. I don't care that you're poor. I don't care that you guys stink. Like, find out when Michigan leaves or USC leaves. Because even USC, they put the numbers out. I think you sent them to me. Where USC is only making a percentage lower than what Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State are going to get. And Oregon's making like that second tier. Oregon's not even getting paid top TV money. So it's funny that like Washington and some of the other schools, Nebraska, they're getting the Rutgers level. Of course they're mad. But it was them bringing it in. It was the Rutgers guy saying like, hey, we tried to put ads on. No one wanted to pay us. But if we got a Big Ten sticker because Michigan's in there, they'll pay us more, they said. That's how it all started. These schools wanted to make more money. They begged around, and now they're trying to leverage schools that don't need it. And honestly, I know, like, what is it? Iowa had like a John Deere ad right on their field. Funny, right on brand for them. I don't mind it. But I don't want to see Michigan just become like those Premier League soccer teams, dude. I don't even know what the teams are. I see like ads for like flying airlines or whatever the heck. That's what their jersey is. I would never wear that. Like imagine getting rid of the M and it's just like a Walmart logo, right? Like Arkansas comes out and they're red and they don't have like the Razorback. They're just wearing like a Walmart thing. That'd be embarrassing, right? I don't know. Like, I see international soccer and people are like, international soccer is better. I'm like, their jerseys look like a NASCAR jersey. That's not good. You don't want a league of just ads. Like college is already different because you belong to something. That's why I was hoping that more teams would kind of try to shift towards like the Packers model when the Atlanta Braves kind of did it, where it goes on the market. Anyone can buy stocks. You can be an owner. You can be part of the team. You can do your votes, whatever. If the Broncos would have went ahead and went with that, I would have bought some Bronco stock, bro. Right? Why not? And I'm sad that it fell through because that way you would have a belonging. Heck, Broncos are doing great this year, remember? Like, what if Sean Payton, like I'm just paying Sean Payton, dude. Awesome. He's getting me good returns. Since I brought Brave stock, dude, Brave stock has gone up like every year. Not going to lie. Like sports have been going up every year. Like it's not a bad investment. Why would it just be billionaires that can make money off it? And not even billionaires. It's like one guy or his family. So I don't care. At least college, you can be an alum. You could be like tied to the school. You could work there. I mean, I guess people work at the Steelers or whatever anyway. But not as much as like a college or university. It's like the lifeblood of the area. People work there a week long. Like Steelers Stadium is half empty most of the time. So you can go there and walk around and you just have a security guard telling you to get out of there. So I don't know. The equity thing, I hope it falls through. If the Big Ten somehow shoves it through and they become like this big media entity, that's what I don't want. Heck, if I'm the SEC right now, I'm calling Michigan and USC up right away. Because that would kind of seal the deal of ending the Big Ten's highest earnings. If Michigan goes to the SEC, even if they don't join full time and they do like a Notre Dame type deal, where it's like, hey, we're going to do like a half C's. But if the SEC can throw together a package and say like, look, why don't we just have some type of pod system and we put you and Notre Dame and USC in there and maybe like some other teams like Missouri or like some other Midwest teams, we can find some to get to like 24, because isn't the SEC still at 16? So if they really wanted to, they could grab and just fight through. Heck, honestly, I don't know what Minnesota's up to, but I would be on board with having them come with Michigan. Have a trophy with them, the jug, right? I need Michigan State. Forget those guys. They're punching our dudes in the tunnel and then blaming it on us. There are still people out there that think that Michigan started the fight in that tunnel like 2 years ago because of Michigan State's craziness. The tunnel did it, dude. Push people down.
Maybe if they would have had an updated stadium and not some old antiquated thing, they could have just had separate means of getting the field.
That's what they wanted, dude. If we would have just updated our stadium, we would need the loan and everything would be fine, right? We'd have that Walmart logo soon enough, dude. But that's the thing. Like there are other schools out there, like Clemson and Florida State. They have to be annoyed with the ACC. Why would they sign back up?
Because I think when you look at the potential deal that the Big Ten's looking at, I mean, essentially, it's what Florida State and Clemson went to battle over. Was that they were looking at who are the teams that are still in the running for having those primetime games, and you know, even when you're in a downturn, are you still generating interest and views and things like that? And it's like the lower level programs from any conference are going to reap the benefits of the top teams that are participating. Now, I think, can you look at the Big Ten right now and say 3-4 teams could be potentially playoff worthy? I think you could make that argument. Going back to some of our conversation from last week, are there 8 teams in any conference right now that are playoff worthy, or 6 teams that are worthy? Shut up. Just shut up. Don't even think about it. Like, there's no way that you can tell me that from one conference there's more than 3 schools that are in that running. Like, and I'm being generous because, like I said before, I think you have 1 and 2 that you could 100% say, if you lose your championship game within your conference, yeah, you absolutely could potentially face them in a rematch and have a different result. I don't have an issue with that. Even to a lesser extent, to have a third ranked team that, they stumbled somewhere along the way and they're not quite there. But you can't tell me that there's 5 or 6 teams from one conference that are going to stand out more than head and shoulders above any other conference. Like, and we see it every year in bowl season where they say, "Oh, this is the conference that is the one that's getting screwed because they should have more teams in the playoffs." And then what do they do? And then what they do during bowl season? They go like 1-7. So I think it's a detrimental.
And that's where I'm looking at it from the side of like the Big Ten trying to put that money in. It doesn't matter. Like the equity, they're paying Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State higher right now from the loan. But there's no way like Purdue deserves anywhere near $110 million or whatever it is. And so if they want to do the deal, then do what you just said. Split the TV money up then. Like if you're saying that these teams are that much more valuable, then do it with the TV money as well. Like why are you forcing our hand? And I know like what teams are desperate because like when Ohio State and Penn State, they don't know their true value and they're ready to sign up. And same with like Oregon. Oregon's already making less money. They're probably loving this deal that they're included on the second tier. And I heard things like, well, not all of it's true out there, right? That's what their Big Ten shooting back, saying like, well, we're not trying to force you guys. Like, just kick us out now then. Kick us out.
And I'll say, Oregon's been ranked high. Like, to me, that I don't have any issue with that.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think if they are able to determine that the value right now for this new deal is that like those 5 schools, the ones that are, I guess I was gonna say they're ones that are all ranked, but I'm throwing Indiana in there instead of Penn State, right? So 4 of the 5 are all right now still in the playoff hunt. And then Indiana would be the 5th one. Indiana deserves a bump. Honestly, if I'm being honest, Indiana deserves some type of bump. I think they should have some type of historical success and then a way to incentivize. Like, there's no reason I don't want Purdue to turn into a leech losing a bunch of games every year, or like Maryland and Rutgers where they're losing every single year. They shouldn't get another bucket of money for winning. And I think that if they want to do that, I would be all on board. And that might help push some of these other conferences too to kind of reevaluate. Because right now, even with the SEC, the reason I'm not saying like Michigan should get kicked out right now and join the SEC, you still have a bunch of dead weight programs like South Carolina and Kentucky and even like Missouri and some of them, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I know Lane Kiffin's there, which let's talk about that right now so I don't forget. Lane Kiffin is in the playoff hunt. Florida and LSU are flying his family around trying to get them to pick their school, right? Ole Miss should fire him right now. And I know a lot of people are going to say that I'm crazy. Michigan basketball won their championship in the 80s with this exact same scenario where a coach was going somewhere else. I don't even remember where he went because it was like I wasn't born yet or whatever. No, I guess I was born, but I was young, right? So like He's interviewing. He's taking the job. Like there's rumors that he's taking the job. Schembechler fired him, dude. And that's where the line, like the Michigan man line came from, where he said a Michigan man's going to coach Michigan. The interim Steve Fisher came in. They won the national championship. So you can't say, oh, hey, we have to keep playing. This is our best chance. Dude, if he's interviewing and having his family take tours, you have no chance now. You're done. You're losing first round of the playoffs. Your best bet is to fire him right now. And if he doesn't get one of those jobs, oh, well, sucks to be him, right? I mean, people were saying like they shouldn't have been taking photos of his family. Like that's an invasion of privacy. Whatever, dude. The state of Mississippi is paying him millions of dollars and he's not invested. Fire him right now. They're already in the playoffs pretty much. They're 10-1. They could lose to Mississippi State. I don't think that's enough to keep them out. There's not enough 2-loss teams right this year, I don't think, for them to be eliminated. I think if they get to 10-2, they're going to be there. Now, maybe there's some upsets because I know the SEC has some other ones like Oklahoma and Vanderbilt right now and Alabama that all have 2 losses. I don't think they play each other. So Missouri plays Oklahoma. They could get a 3rd loss and get like eliminated. And that's where you get into like the situation where you have Notre Dame. They played 2 tough games. They lost them both. And yet people are saying they're a lock for the playoffs. Why? Like, yeah, they beat USC. That's probably their 3rd, and then Pitt, which we don't know how Pitt's going to end up because Pitt didn't even try to win that game, which just annoys me. We're going to focus on the ACC. I guarantee Pitt doesn't win the ACC now. Because you get that loser mindset where you're just going to get your ass kicked. That's going to carry you with you to the next game. And then the game after that. And next thing you know, you end the year on a 3-game skid. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's a horrible situation. You play to win all the games and make the playoff as a 2-loss ACC rep. Now you basically screwed the ACC pit, where if you play spoiler, ACC is not going to get another bid, right? They have 3 teams left: Miami, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. Pitt can eliminate Miami last game of the year. It's at Pitt, I think. And then the other ones, like Virginia, they're going to get eliminated in the ACC championship game, most likely, if they don't lose to Virginia Tech, or Georgia Tech for that same reason. You could have 2-loss champs playing each other based on what Pitt does. 3-loss champ, right? If Pitt wins out and takes the bid, they're going to basically eliminate any at-large for the ACC. Because they did what they did. Great work. And that's basically Notre Dame too. If Notre Dame wouldn't have went through and beat up on a lot of these ACC teams like Pitt, it's hard to say. I know Miami beat them. Right now, that's the only advantage I think that has Miami in the playoffs. But it's also the same thing I've been saying. Don't schedule that tough game. Texas is already complaining about how the Ohio State game shouldn't count. Michigan's going to be in the same scenario. Good chance to lose to Ohio State, right? Michigan would have 3 losses. If they're going to really talk about putting Texas in with 3 losses, why not Michigan then? Both would have lost to Ohio State. Texas doesn't really have any other better wins than what Michigan would have. Other than, yeah, we started the season ranked really high. Right? And I'm not saying Michigan beats Maryland this week because who knows what they're doing, always playing around. But the efficiency, like the advanced stats, has Michigan actually pretty high. I was surprised. And so if you were going with the computers, Michigan might get in ahead of Texas because their efficiency isn't there at all because Arch Manning stinks. Right? So like you can have a couple of things.
Which is crazy unto itself because it's gone from tanking for them to should you even waste anything on them?
Well, yeah, I'm surprised. I still don't. I wouldn't throw it out the window, dude, that he's not a high pick because of the name. We see guys come out of nowhere all the time to be one of the top picks. Heck, he doesn't even have to come out this year, I don't think. He can come back one more year and then be the number one pick the following year. It just wouldn't be in Pittsburgh. It wouldn't be how they drew it up. But like a team like the Aggies, dude, they should have lost to South Carolina. What are they doing? To your point, the only team that impresses me in the SEC right now is Georgia because they find a way to win. And that's the kind of team that can just break somebody. And yeah, I know they lost to Alabama in a close fought game. Throw that out the window. Georgia's going 11-1. I think Georgia's going to win the SEC. I have nothing on that other than they're gritty. A&M came back. Yeah, they have that grit. Georgia's going to beat them. I don't know what the tiebreaker scenario is. I assume it's Georgia and A&M playing in the championship and not Ole Miss. The Lane Kiffin thing could take care of itself, where you get A&M undefeated, Ole Miss drops one at the end, and then Georgia has a head-to-head over Bama, and they get in. And then you're really looking at, like, okay, if Ole Miss loses their head coach, how's that different than what Florida State went through? Where you lose a player? Isn't losing a coach a big deal too?
I mean, I feel like I like Ole Miss's approach that they're kind of pushing Kiffin's hand in the deal. To just be like, if you don't want to be here, that's fine, but you need to make the move sooner rather than later so that we can get that search going.
I think you fire them, you have the interim, get the team hyped up like UCLA did, and they had like a 2-game bump with their new coach and try to win a playoff game. It's my opinion. That's what I would do because you're going to be an at-large. You're not going to be one of the top 4 most likely, although you don't know that. Right? I guess Indiana's pretty much locked in with Ohio State. I mean, I guess there's a scenario. I don't think Ohio State's losing to Rodgers. Ohio State could lose to Michigan, and then I think Oregon or USC winner would be the at-large, right? Or not the at-large, the Big Ten champ participant. Because I think Michigan would have played a weaker schedule, I think, from what I've seen. So you have a scenario where this week, Oregon plays USC, I think. The winner of that, if it's Oregon, USC is probably eliminated. And so you're looking at the Big Ten. I've talked about this before, where the Big Ten would be a 3-bid league. They would have Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. That would pretty much seal it up. Oregon, on the other hand, could lose to USC and lose to Washington and be eliminated. Heck, if Oregon loses to, or if they beat USC and then lose to Washington, do they even get in? Could the Big Ten only have 2 teams? Because Oregon's schedule doesn't look that tough. The Penn State win means nothing now. They beat Iowa, and they would beat USC maybe. I mean, I guess if they lose to USC and then beat Washington, maybe. I don't know. They don't have a lot of big wins, though. Like, their schedule's not good. And so, to your point, we don't know how good some of these teams are. And that's where I'm splitting hairs, where it's like, okay, Oregon played absolutely no one in the non-conference. They played Oregon State, horrible, Oklahoma State, horrible, and Montana State. Credit to them. They didn't know Oklahoma State was going to be horrible. But Michigan played Oklahoma. That game right now is big because it's given Oklahoma a bump for the playoffs. But because Michigan was on the short end of the stick, they're on the outside looking in. If Michigan doesn't schedule that, they're in the same situation as Oregon right now. Heck, they're 9-1, and people are saying like they're probably a lock for the playoffs because there's no way if they beat Maryland, even if they lose to Ohio State, they're the number 1 team in the land. They're not going to get eliminated from the playoffs from that, right? It goes back to my thing. This system doesn't give you the benefit of having great schedules. Like, there's no reason to schedule good. Your conference schedule is going to be tougher than anything that Notre Dame has put together. cancel all non-conference. Like if you're Michigan, don't schedule another big time Power 5. Schedule someone like Kentucky. Right?
Yeah.
Check mark. Schedule Duke or something. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't schedule Wake. They seem to upset people. Schedule Virginia Tech. You had no problem beating Penn State all those years. Schedule Virginia Tech. People be lapping it up. Maybe he can turn it around because that's my last topic. James Franklin going to Virginia Tech. I know Penn State guys are celebrating it that I've talked to. No. He's close to where he's best at recruiting. That's a horrible move if you're a Penn State fan. Let him go to Florida State. Let him go to Florida. Right? That's far away. He's right in Virginia now. That's where Penn State relies on that metro area with D.C. and Maryland and Virginia. New Jersey, New York. He's close enough at Virginia Tech. That's where they lived with Beamer, dude. That and down at the Virginia Beach area, the Tidewater area, down the coast of North Carolina. James Franklin can get them back, dude. Because he's going to pull a lot of recruits from that area. And that's where I think we talked about Penn State's recruiting classes. I'm not going to jump into it now this late in the show in the past. But Penn State, sometimes the recruiting ranks were low because he had a lot of key big-time players from the North. That doesn't mean big-time studs don't come from the North. Right? There are a lot of big-time guys that come out of that area. Heck, Georgia's been eaten with dudes from that Philly area. If Franklin can get them to come to Virginia Tech again and get them anywhere near the top 20 in recruiting, that's already going to be in the upper part of the ACC to where he's good at beating teams that have less talent than him. And if you're only playing 1 or 2 a year and you only need 2 losses or less, heck, Miami would be loving that. That's what I don't understand. Miami, they can't get over the hump. They can't even make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it. Until I see it, I don't believe it. They're going to lose to Pitt, dude. As much as Pitt's falling apart, I think Pitt will lose to Georgia Tech, and then they'll beat Miami to end the year. I said they're going to end on a 3-game skid. And then Franklin's going to come in, and Penn State's not going to be able to find anybody because I keep hearing that they're trying to get DeBoer to talk to him. And heck, Bama, didn't they just lose again? I don't know if that was this week or last week. But, yeah, they lost. So maybe it's true. Maybe they can pull him out of there. He doesn't like the South. Come back up north. Or Freeman. But if you don't get either of those, how is your coaching change any good? My last thing real quick. People down here, they really want Brian Kelly at NC State.
Well, I guess they already have someone with a great personality in Doran, so.
Just imagine if he can win at Notre Dame, and if he can get to like 10 wins, that it'd be top notch. I almost forgot, dude. That reminded me, the hammer. The hammer finally came down from the NCAA. Michigan State has not had a Big Ten win in 4 years, Matt. Penn State beating them, kept that streak alive, had to vacate all their wins for cheating. Which is crazy because I thought the only reason they were fighting the NCAA was so that they didn't have to pay Mel Tucker's buyout. But instead, which again, someone told me, a lawyer I was talking to, he said that, I don't even know if that would make sense, dude. And then I felt like an idiot because maybe that's not true. Because if he already settled on a contract, they can't come back and say like, well, hey, guess what? You've got to get that money back from you because you're also doing these other weird violations. That would be a separate thing, I think, which is how it's explained to me. So then I didn't know. So maybe that wouldn't even have worked out anyway, and they just got a double whammy from him. But crazy. Now they can shut up. Michigan State fans, because now they have vacated wins, and Michigan still has none.
But I thought the whole scenario with Franklin going to Tech makes sense, because when you look at where he was with Penn State, they were 3-4 team within the Big Ten. Like, they weren't that top dog. And where's Virginia Tech in the ACC? Not a top dog. So what can he do for them? He can continue to recruit the DC area well. He still is close to all of his pipelines. And will he be able to keep Virginia Tech in that close to competing for the conference title? Yes. Like, it's an ideal situation for him. I think that one fits so much better than when it was rumored that he was potentially going to Tallahassee. I thought that would not be a good situation for him to walk into, because the Florida State fan base, like, the expectation is to compete for national championship right now.
Well, see, he does compete for them, Matt. He just doesn't win them. It only takes one. Coach O, would you rather have Coach O or Franklin?
Coach O.
I almost broke your head. Coach O had one good year, dude. One.
And guess what?
They got fired.
He won. He won.
Would you rather have Gene Chizik or James Franklin?
Give me all the coins.
I'll wait for you to hang up. Just hang up, bro. Hang up. Because I'll call Gene Chizik and tell him Florida State is interested. Say, what's up? He's working on the ACC network, I think.
Well, see, that's a scenario that might make sense, because he'll still have Malzahn as his coordinator, so they can revive it.
You're still trying to revive. They don't have Cam Newton, dude. But all right, yeah, we're going pretty long. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
I'm probably going to bring up James Franklin for a while, because it seems like it's a good deal. I was also looking at parallels, and this is around, I guess it was like even earlier than what Indiana hired Cignetti, right? And I've been high on Cignetti, and the way he was able to get his players to transfer was because he was hired early enough to get that done. So look for that. If you're Penn State, that's why I don't think this is good news. Yeah, you get the buyout. Who cares? Who cares? It's just money. You're not paying it, right? This private equity deal is going to pay for it, unless Michigan goes out guns blazing, which isn't going to happen. But maybe with USC there, 2 peas in a pod, right? But that's all. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.